I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2021 BSA Training. You're in for a real treat. No, I'm just kidding. This is annual required training, and we'll just have a few questions, but I provided the outline. I didn't provide it for y'all, did I? Anyway, I have one for you if you like it. But those of you that are looking at the video, you'll have an outline attached to your email so you can follow along with me. First, and maybe one of the most important questions I have for you is who is your BSA officer? If an issue comes up and you don't know how to handle it, who do you contact? Debbie. Debbie is the BSA officer, and I'm the backup for Debbie for that. All right, let's start off with some of the basics on the Bank Secrecy Act. First of all, I want you to know that our board of directors, along with management of the credit union, take BSA very seriously. And if not for a lot of other reasons, for this one reason is that each of us, if we don't do things properly and we intentionally violate the law, we can go to prison and we can be fined personally. So pay attention, kind of know what you're doing. If you have any questions, you're going to ask Debbie, the BSA officer, as issues come up. First of all, member identification program. You all know that we need an unexpired government-issued picture ID. We need someone's social security number, their physical address, not Nucor's address, their physical address. If they don't have a home yet, it's where they put their head on the pillow last night. It could be the hotel. And after they get the permanent address, they can come and change that. But we also have to have their real name. You know, in the South, a lot of times people go by AJ or Bubba or whoever, but you have to have their real given name that we list on their account, and then we can also put an AKA or also known as name down below. If they want to be called that, that's fine. Some other things that we do collect on them is their date of birth that we have to have. Some things we're not required to collect, but we do anyway. The name of the employer, of course. Their telephone number and email address. If they're going to have anything online, they have to have an email address. And the cards are reviewed by the membership officer, who is a member of the board of directors every month. And of course, members of our credit union have to be Nucor employees or family members. We do open accounts by mail, but we only open accounts by mail through the Florence office. Things like a picture of their non-expired government issue ID are required, a copy of their Nucor Corporation pay stub to make sure that they're in our field of membership, completed and signed membership cards, and so forth. So if you in the branches have an account opening by mail, oh, there we go. It told me it was dropped. Then contact the Florence office to make sure that it's done properly. Enhanced due diligence. When a member opens an account at the credit union, we're supposed to sit down with them and say, okay, now what are you going to use this account for? 99.9% of all of our members are going to have a personal member account. Nothing special about it. If they indicate in any way they're going to have a lot of check activity or a lot of wiring activity, we need to record that information, and we need to follow up. If they don't do what they say they were going to do, like if they say they're going to have 10 checks a month and they have 100 a month, then we have to call them back in and say, hey, what's going on here? If they won't give us the information, then we may have to fill out a suspicious activity report. We'll talk about that a little later on. Check cashing. I put this special note in there because we do this from time to time. If Nucor Corporation needs us to cash a check for them up to $2,000, you can go ahead and do that. The one cashing the check needs to be a member of the credit union. In fact, at some Nucor Corporation locations, we've cashed checks up to $30,000 before. But it's with management of the credit union's approval along with management of Nucor's approval to do something like that. If anything like that comes up, call us here, call Debbie, and he will help you. Keep this in mind. If a member writes a check to a non-member and the member comes in and they want to cash that check, we have to run an OFAC check on that non-member. It's a simple procedure where we punch in their name and address, whatever we have the information on, and the system will run it against an OFAC list and say, yes, it's okay to do this, or no, okay, it's not. I never caught one that said, no, okay, it's not. No, it's not okay, but we have to check them out every time they do that. That doesn't happen very often either. Office of Foreign Assets Control, list checking. I pretty much take care of this, and some of y'all may get in and dabble in it, but every 2 weeks, at least every 2 weeks, I get a list from the federal government And I have to download this list and I check it against our entire database. Check social security numbers, name, address, date of birth. God forbid you should have IRAN in your street name or your name. It'll kick out 100 ways. And then I always have to go through and I check typically I check their name, their date of birth, their ID number, like their social security number, and where they live against the OFAC list. And I've never had one good enough hit yet to actually report it. Back in the very first days of OFAC, years and years ago, I thought we might have had one, and I called them up and they said, no, that's not who we're looking for, and hung up on me. But we do have those lists that we do have to check. Currency transaction report. A currency transaction report has to be filled out anytime that a member gives us $10,000 or greater in cash or gets $10,000 greater in cash, and this is cash only now, not checks or anything else, not wires, but in cash only. And there's nothing wrong with a member doing that, coming in and getting $10,000, $12,000. It's just that we have to complete the form, say who they are, where they work, what they do for a living, and this is how much money they got, and this is when they got it, and this is where they got it from. There's nothing wrong with it. It's pretty much public knowledge. If a member comes in and says, if I give you $12,000, you're going to have to fill out that form on me? Well, yes, it's public knowledge that anything $10,000 or greater has to be completed on. But there's nothing wrong with it. We just have to report it. I like to run this by you or make sure that you are aware of this, that the credit union is not required to accept any check. We can say no. A lot of times we'll have a member come in and they'll have a check that they want to present to cash, and it looks funny to us. They say it's a loan check, but it's from Holiday Inn. Something's funny about that. And I will always typically call the maker of the check and say, hey, did you issue this check? And 90% of the time, because we kind of got pretty good at it, they'll tell me, no, that's fraud. We did not issue that check. Somebody's using our check number fraudulently. And always, they want the member to cash the check, keep a little bit for their trouble, and then wire $2,500, $3,000 back to someone else. And if they do that, once they wire the money's gone, the check comes back no good to us, and then we have to go after our member and prosecute them for fraud. So keep that in mind. We do not have to accept any check that we don't want to. If a member tells us they're a secret shopper, or if they had a long-lost relative that passed away, or they won the lottery in England because they played it in the U.S., typically that's fraud. Anytime they want them to wire money back to them, it's going to be fraud. All right, let's talk about a special report that we have to sometimes fill out. It's called a SAR, or a Suspicious Activity Report. Some of us call it the Something Ain't Right report. Sometimes some things go on and it makes the hair in the back of your neck stand up, and you're like, something ain't right about this. It's probably true. If that happens, call the BSA officer or myself, and we'll help you through it. A suspicious activity report is a very confidential report. If we do file a suspicious activity report, we are never to talk about the report to our member, tell them what's on it. We don't talk about other people in the credit union about it. Only the BSA officer will typically know. And if we do file one, we do report to the board that, hey, we filed one. We don't tell them who we filed it on, what it was all about, or anything like that. And as long as you keep your mouth shut and don't blab about it, you gain immunity under the law. You can never be required as a witness to come to court to testify against that person. For example, somebody's a drug dealer and they're bringing big cash sums in. We don't tell them, hey, if you don't stop dealing drugs, we're going to turn you in. We have a special report to do that on. Well, for obvious reasons, you wouldn't want to do that anyway because they might take your head off. So you wouldn't do that anyway. But as long as you report it and let the law enforcement officials take care of it, we've got immunity under the law. All right, monetary instrument record keeping. 9 times out of 10, when a member comes in and wants a cashier's check, they just pull the money out of their share account. But sometimes they'll come in like with $3,000 and say, hey, I want to buy a cashier's check and I want to make it payable to whoever. If they do that, we record the date, the amount of the check, who the check was paid to, the check number, who bought the check, and things like that. It's called monetary instrument record keeping. Okay, I want to cover a new area that I've added to our BSA training, and it's cybersecurity awareness and common practices. Anything that can be an external threat to the credit union through the computer system. First of all, social engineering. Human error is behind most successful cyber attacks. Keep that in mind. For example, phishing. You get an email that attempts to get you to give information or perform acts that you should not. Try to get you to give out your account number, your debit card number, social security number, date of birth, passwords. They may even be passwords into our network or somebody like our BSA corporate credit union or someone like that. So be aware of that. Do not open any email or give any information from any email, or do not give any information to someone who emails you that you don't know for sure who the email is coming from, or if you did not expect to receive the email. I've received emails from people that I know, but I didn't know they were going to send me something, and usually I just delete them and I'll call the person and say, hey, did you want me for something? In fact, I got one from my son-in-law. It was just simply an attachment, nothing. I said, no, I'm not opening that, because if you open that, it can mess your computer up or get your information, things like that. So know who's sending you an email before you open it. Spoofing. Spoofing tries to pass itself off as a legitimate site. Billy, you probably remember this. Years ago, somebody made a copy of our website and it was pretending to be the credit union's website. And instead, for example, instead of being Nucor CU, it was Nucor CCU or something. And it looked like our website trying to get our members to put in their information. And we were able to stop that pretty quickly. I can still see it in my mind, the blue background and the icon is going down. But a spoofing is where an email or an internet site tries to trick you into giving out personal credit union information. Just remember this, the con in con artist means confidence. The person trying to con you is trying to get you to have confidence in them so they can scam you big time. So if anybody's overly anxious to say, hey, trust me, I'm good, believe me, probably not so. Both social engineering and spoofing lead to trouble, either to scam you or the credit union. All right, malware. Malware is the payload for the scammer. Usually it attempts to get you to open a site, watch a video, or download something. Then along with the video or download, you also get malware. It involves baiting of some kind. Generally, the scam involves you or giving you something, for example, a news feed, or a video to watch, or a free app to download. And along with that, when you click on it, you get the bait, you get the malware as well. Now, malware could be something just like it pushes advertisements out to you, or directs your search engine to go to certain sites that they collect money from those people so that you might buy something from them. But malware can also be the kind that infects your PC and your credit union's network. They can even hold your credit union's share loan files hostage. They may want to use your PC for crypto mining. Crypto mining is something that a lot of people that are involved in the Bitcoin enterprise. They use thousands of other computers to generate all these numbers to make sure that all the money is verified and correct. And they can use PCs that are hooked up to the network for that. In fact, Matthew used to use his PC for that purpose, and he got paid just a little bit for it. Not much, but a few Bitcoin, not Bitcoins, but a few kinds of coins that they offer. Do not open suspicious emails, attachments, videos, links, any free offers. Be very, very skeptical of free offers. And never ever put any USB drives or CDs or DVDs into any credit union computer. One of the scams that took place at a large corporation is they had all these security people in place and all these IT people in place. And what the scammers did is they took 3 or 4 USB drives, they went to the executive parking area and threw them on the ground. Well, the executive's like, all right, who did this with a backup tape? So I'm going to see who this was. If it's in his computer, when they do, it infects the entire network. So don't ever put any outside media into any of the computers here at the credit union. All right, wires, we keep record keeping for wires. We keep outgoing logs. We keep incoming wire logs. We pretty much do that in Florence, and y'all know what you're doing with that. Just as a general note, when we think about identity theft, don't leave member information laying around. For those of us that have our own office, we may have a member's information laying on our desk, and we might have to go get up and get something. Well, whoever's there in that chair could look into any of those files we have laying out. So remember to keep those confidential, like they should be. All right, we update the risk assessment portion of our BSA anti-money laundering policy at least annually. That document's probably gotten to about 30 pages long now, and it assesses each product we have and how risky it is to the credit union, how we can mitigate those risks. Just as an example, one section is about high drug trafficking areas noted by the federal government on their website, also high financial crime areas. We do have a couple of high drug trafficking areas in the state, and it's the Florence office and the Swansea office, because of I-95 is considered a high drug trafficking area. And then Lexington County, where Swansea's at, is high drug trafficking as well. High financial crime areas, the entire state of New York is considered high financial crime area. But the way we mitigate that is we say, well, we have a single sponsor field of membership. Only Nucor employees and their family can join. The only office we have is behind security at the Nucor site. So to us, it's a low risk. It's not a high risk. But again, we evaluate each product we have based on its risk assessment. Training, like you're getting trained right now. The board members are trained along with all the supervisory committee members are also trained. And of course, I had to go to a 2-day meeting for this as well. Audit, CPAs currently audit us that's been about every 12 months. They come in and look at everything that we do considering in connection with BSA training. Record keeping, we keep everything for at least 5 years, signature cards, any approval codes, credit reports, anything like that that we may have used to open the account with. We also have to have a notice posted up that says these words: the Patriots Act of 2001 obligates all persons seeking to open an account to fully comply with identity verification requirements of the Bank Secrecy Act, as amended from time to time. In other words, if they don't tell us who they are and make us believe who they are, like with an unexpired government issue picture ID, we're not going to open their account. Just a word about sole proprietorships. Most everybody knows this. We only typically do this at the Florence office. But members can have a business account under their own social security number. Like typically it's like a dog groomer or a grass cutter, something like that that's run solely on their social security number. But if they do have a business account, we have a form we have to fill out that again asks how many checks you're going to run through, how much cash you're going to be, what is your business doing, do you have a license for it, and all that kind of stuff. And then if we catch somebody who said, well, I'm only going to have 10 checks a month, now they have 100 checks a month, then I have to call them back in and talk to them and say, hey, what's going on? How has your business changed? Why are you doing this different than you said you would? And if you would, I have attached a signature page. Everybody that's had this training can sign up to say they in fact have been trained. I'll have to show this to our examiners when they come in. And I think that's it for that. Do y'all have any questions? If y'all have any questions online, please email me or call me. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.